So now it's time to load the data. We've got everything just lined up for us to grab this file and run with it. Let's do a quick little context manager. We'll do a with, open file name as, and we'll do read-only text. And let's go ahead and set the encoding to UTF-8, almost 8. Remember, this is the file we're going after. And it's right at the top. You can see we have the street, then the city, then the zip code, then the state, the beds, baths, and so on. This will give us information about all the real estate purchases that have happened over here. When we're processing the CSV, there's actually a couple of options. One option would be to just parse this directly as strings. Now, there's another option we'll use in just a minute, but let me just kind of sketch that out for you, because understanding how that might go would help you approach file formats that there's not a built-in reader for. The first thing we need to do is capture the header, and that's not the thing at the top that we were printing out, but the sort of column names at the top of this. So we can say fin.readLine, singular, and we could do something like print found header to be, and then we'll just print that out. And then the next thing we need to do is we need to go through line by line and turn this into some kind of data structure. We'll start simple and we'll get something more interesting in a minute. So we can say for line in fin. Now, we could have just started out this way, but remember the first line is the header and then every subsequent line is actually the data. So we do one read line and then we stream over it. And we need to turn the line into the individual columns of data. And with a CSV, comma separated value, one way, let's call this just line data. One way to do this would be to say line.split, and we just split on the comma. Now, this is not perfect because you'll see that there are ways to escape commas and so on, and the edge cases can be a little bit tricky. So we're not going to end up using this. But let me just print out, well, let's build up all this. We'll say lines, and we'll gather this here, and we'll say lines.append line data. And then let's just print out, let's say the first bunch here. So we'll say print lines, and we don't want all thousands of lines. So let's just say we'll take the first line. Remember, we can slice from 0 to 5 and just get the first lines like so. So let's run this, see what happens. Fantastic. Here's our header. That looks good. And look, here's the string for High Street, the string for Sacramento. Now there's two lists here. We have basically a list of lists. So that was the first row. That's the second row. Now notice the very last bit has a \n. And that's because that's coming from when we read a line out of a file, a text file in Python, it keeps that on the end there. So let's do a strip, and we can strip the bits off the front and the back. And I suppose we could go ahead and do that with the header as well. Now we try that again. Perfect. Our latitude is looking solid. Okay, so now if we wanted to go work with the data, remember this is not where we're going to stop, this is where we're starting. If we wanted to work with the number of beds, if I were to just print out those, I could somehow go over to this bit here, and for each line in the line data, I could come over, the bed was, I think, the fifth one, it doesn't really matter. Let's say it's the fifth one, then I would say 4, and I could say bed count equals that. Okay, now there's a couple of challenges because this actually comes back as a string, so I need to parse it and so on. But this is sort of the basic way of working with this data. So that's kind of how we would attack CSV files from scratch. But Python has built-in support for CSVs, and we can do better. So let's use the CSV module and then build on that.